Welcome back to the Class on Grass,
No.
the COG Weekly podcast.
It's gonna be.
It's gonna take me a while, but season 3, episode 16,
It is gonna be strange.
the first of the COG Weekly.
Did you
era.
did you plan that, or was that
I didn't.
completely natural?
See, I thought about it the other day. I was like,
No, I was.
I'm gonna trip up, but it didn't even cross my mind until I said it. So.
All right, Paul has started us off well.
There we go.
You could say Afcon is among us. We did that.
That's great.
Last episode, and it really did send us. So I don't think we're gonna be making any more Among Us jokes this
No.
episode. I feel like just to
We had a good laugh.
to spare the listeners
Mm-hmm.
who don't appreciate the Among Us jokes
Mhm.
from 5 to 10 minutes of uncontrolled laughter.
I'd say that's like 90% of listeners.
Yeah, I'd say we're touching maybe like seven.
Just Paul.
Yeah, it's really just Paul.
Just Paul.
No, but we do have a lot to talk about. But before we get into talking about all of the craziness that's going on, Afcon being here, not Among Us, being here.
Here.
And-
Arrived, as
and-
the title says.
Exactly. And the FA Cup and whatnot. But before we get into talking about all that, we do have to announce we have finally come out with the expansion for Class on Grass Media. We have added, if you haven't seen, 3 new podcasts. That includes the Supporters Pod, the Champions Pod, and Woolwich Worshippers, who are made and done by 3 great sets of people. It's 3 great podcasters, or should we say 6 great podcasters?
6th grade
3 great podcast pairs.
teams, yes.
Yeah. And we are currently working to develop a team of writers to improve the workflow on the website.
Newly updated website,
Exactly.
new merch for every podcast as well. Make sure to go check that out if you haven't already. And then follow all those podcasts on Instagram, which is linked in our main Class on Grass Media.
Exactly.
Instagram.
And go follow, if you are new around here, or if you're returning and don't already, go follow our new Instagram, COG Weekly Official, where you can get podcast updates, podcast clips and moments, some funny things that we post outside of the podcast, and pretty much everything under the umbrella of COG Weekly right there, because we have obviously moved from the Class on Grass Media official account. That's going to be run now as kind of the family account surrounding all of the podcasts and all of the media and all of the news articles. But we're super excited, and we've really, the term expansion really applies here.
It does.
It's great. It's great to see.
And for those who, have been listening and heard little hints about it the past, I'd say, month or two,
Yes.
It has been a long time coming, and we're happy that it is finally all out there, and hopefully you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, and we're happy that it didn't release with something crazy that went wrong. You know what I mean?
It's true.
It was about 2.5 months of work to get all of this set up and coordinated, and to find the right people to do the podcasts and who to bring in and how to run it. But we got it figured out, and we're here. So without further ado, I think we should start out the new expansion era with the Hassani of the Week.
We should.
This week. And with it being the beginning of Afcon, 6 games have happened so far. So we are going to be choosing, in our opinion, the best player from those 6 games that have been played in the Afcon competition. And our decision has been Vincent Abubakar.
There it is.
Absolute.
I think it's the
unit.
opening game as well.
Absolute unit he is. He's the number 10 for Cameroon. And he's their captain as well. He's getting up there in age, but he had 2 goals, 2 pens, sent the keeper the wrong way both times.
2 pens in the last 5 minutes of the first half.
What an absolute legend. Should we talk about the defending before we talk about the actual game? Because I'm getting the sense that the defending in Afcon is a bit questionable right now.
Yeah, so we'll go more in depth as we touch on the other games that have been played, but yeah, these aren't pens that are like, I'd say, Premier League pens.
No, there's no VAR needed.
Where you're like, where you're like, oh, that could have gone either way there. Is it a handball? Is it not? These were 2 full-on tackles, probably 2 seconds late. The guy didn't even have the ball or was nowhere near the ball on the tackle in the box. Clear as day pens, just some old school.
We're
old
talking
school
freight
penalties.
trains here.
Yeah, old school penalties.
People just being completely reckless.
Yeah.
It's what you love to see, though. The spirit around the Afcon competition, the speed of play is fantastic.
Yes.
So quick.
Yeah.
The aggressiveness is completely there. They have fans packing the stadiums, which is great to see, and they are dancing after they score. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have watched Afcon games. They're kind of hard to stream when you're in America, as we don't necessarily get it on any large media providers. Maybe it's something that Class on Grass should look into
We could.
pursuing.
Yeah.
Maybe providing people with a way to watch Afcon.
Mhm.
But when we did our on-demand replay of the games, we noticed that, I mean, it is definitely a competition that is not taken lightheartedly
No.
to those players.
And it's like insane talent as well,
Oh,
as
great.
we'll get to about teams who are missing out on their big players. And I mean, I'm just, like you said, really wishing I had access to watch these games, because it is like very good teams that I only get to see in the World Cup every 4 years.
Completely.
So
I mean, you really, and when you have to watch them back after the games are finished, it completely takes away the I don't know what you'd say, the emotion.
yeah, you don't
surround it.
want to watch a World Cup game after it's already happened.
Exactly.
Like, because everyone's already talking about it and you feel left out. So I don't know. Hopefully ESPN or someone in the future can get those rights to stream those games, because that would be great to see for the sport.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then moving forward, we actually we had a couple other moments
We did.
in Afcon that we felt were very important, and I know you can bring us to a couple players who
Yes.
have recently, and recently I mean in the last 6 years, both been a part of Southampton Football Club, and both have had great, I mean, Afcon 2022 debuts.
I mean, Southampton has, produced great talent to watch in the AFCON, starting with Sadio Mane of now Liverpool, but formerly of Southampton, with a 96-minute winning penalty, which we kind of talked about. Do you think it's just going to be penalties galore this tournament?
Well, if the defending continues on the path that it's
Yeah.
on right now, I think that we are probably, you know how they do like the XG?
Yeah, XG
They're
for
going to do an
penalties.
XP,
Yeah,
you know,
X penalties.
expected penalties.
Mhm.
And it's going to be 1 to 2 per game, completely. Paul said, what do you think about AFCON being played in January? We're going to get into all of the effects that AFCON has on the Premier League and on, surrounding teams in Europe later. So we will cover that exact question, Paul. Do not worry about that.
Yeah. And then secondly, maybe a lesser known but still incredibly skilled player, 5-star skiller if you didn't know, on FIFA at his time at Southampton.
That's one of the main reasons that everyone knows about him.
Yeah. It is Sofiane Boufal with an 83rd minute winner for Morocco in their opening game as well. And if you don't, you probably remember the goal of the season for the Premier League. I think it was 2017 or so. He dribbled pretty much the full field against West Brom and slotted it away with composure. And that's really all you need to know about his Southampton career. That was all that happened.
Ankara Boufal.
Yeah.
Ankara Boufal.
That's all that happened.
I mean,
There was nothing else that happened.
And it doesn't matter. When you make a moment like that, there's nothing.
No, I always remember. I'll remember his name forever just because of that goal.
Sofiane. Well, we did speak on Sofiane quite a bit before he scored that goal.
Yeah.
He was a lingering.
He was like, oh, it's a good player, maybe not producing a lot, and then he
Yeah.
produces that, and you're like,
Well, let's just appreciate that for
Yeah,
a
we
couple
should.
1,000 years.
Yeah.
But now to Paul's question, I think that it is probably one of the most important things to touch on. And that's the fact that AFCON is played in the middle of European football at its peak. If you look at the Premier League, players who are let go by their Premier League clubs, if they are let go, which is another thing
Yeah.
to get into, but players who are let go by their Premier League clubs miss 3 to 4 games in the Premier League at a time that is incredibly crucial to pick up points. So it's almost detrimental to some squads who have a lot of African players who are going to be playing in AFCON. And I mean, just starting with Arsenal, I'm gonna pull up the exact amount of players, but it's actually incredible how many key players for teams all throughout the Premier League are going to be missing for these next couple weeks
yeah,
to represent their countries. Starting with Arsenal, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Mohamed El Neni, Thomas Partey, and Nicolas Pepe. are all going to be gone for Afcon. And although, El Neni and Aubameyang are both players who maybe haven't featured quite as much in the Arsenal squad, you could even say Pepe.
Recently Pepe is not. Yeah.
But they are still players who rotate in throughout that Arsenal squad, and Thomas Partey is a huge one. He's going to be.
That's a massive miss for Arsenal. In that midfield, I don't see Xhaka really holding down that midfield as well without Partey there, who's really a solid defender and has improved greatly as Arsenal have this season. Like you said, I mean, Aubameyang has kind of been shunned out of the team by Arteta after a bit of a scuffle, and I don't know. I think he obviously didn't score in Gabon's first game because we checked that, but I'm guessing he played. He is their like main player for his country, so
I will check that right now.
I'd say I think it's going to be valuable for him to play in this tournament. Pepe also with the Ivory Coast, I believe. He also hasn't been getting a lot of game time with their new uptick in form, Arsenal, so I think that's also valuable. But like Eli was saying, get rid of the winter international tournament trend. It is a bit controversial because at the same time, it is fun to have these tournaments, but you are, for really no reason, losing your best players for a couple clubs in this instance instead of having it in the summer like it has been.
A strange one that I just found is that, at least for their opening game, which they won 1-0 to, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, would be Comoros? Another team that's in Afcon. So Gabon won that 1-0, but Aubameyang didn't play. And
on the bench or no?
He was not on the bench.
Did he travel? Paul said it's meant to say it, but I think El Neni is a bigger loss than Alba and Pepe. At this point, we have so few options in midfield without those two, and Ainsley Maitland-Niles also leaving, as we talked about before.
Yeah. So I do know that he left Arsenal. So I don't know what's going on with him in the Gabonese.
Maybe he didn't get there. Like sometimes their rivals are different.
So, yeah, it's a strange one. But obviously he's going to be sorely missed. Well.
Oh, he got COVID. So yeah.
There you go. Thank you, Paul, for that fact check there. But yeah, Arsenal will definitely have some problems. And I'm looking at their fixtures list. They have the North London Derby next, which is a big one.
That's a huge
one to be missing, Thomas Partey. And then after that, 3-4 games would be Burnley, Wolves, and Brentford. And I believe they'll be back by Brentford. So it would just be the North London Derby, Burnley, and Wolves. So they can probably pick up 6.
I think Spurs will be tough. Away as well.
One thing I'm interested to see, I'm looking right now. So on my list, Spurs haven't lost anyone due to Afcon in their squad.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to be hurt at all with big players leaving. So that could be an interesting one. But I'm definitely interested to see how that plays out. But I can see them picking up 6 points over the course of the next.
I think 6 points minimum will probably be their goal.
Yeah. But obviously, with it being the North London Derby, it's going to be a tense one, and aside from players leaving for Afcon, I'm definitely looking forward to that game.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be in 6 days, so definitely tune into that. The next team that we are going to be covering is going to be Brighton, and it's a strange one because it's the only team that we're looking into who has only 1 player leaving for Afcon, but it is someone who, when out of our squad, is, I mean, it's... the team dynamic is just completely different, and it's Yves Bissouma.
Mm-hmm.
He's been fantastic the last 2 years for Brighton. Obviously, he got in a bit of trouble at a certain point in time in his career. But moving past that and being able to still play in the Premier League and just moving past that whole issue, he is an absolute gem for our side football-wise, and he keeps the team ticking. And so I think we're definitely going to struggle more without him. We will play in the next 3 games. Let me check here. We will play against Crystal Palace, Chelsea, and Leicester. So Leicester was also hit hard, and we'll talk about that later. But it's definitely going to be a tough one to pick up points on.
I mean, I see a pattern here.
And Crystal Palace, by the way, is our derby.
Yes, exactly.
So,
and I see a pattern with maybe like very important midfielders losing. So Arsenal, Brighton, just looking off the top of my head, Leicester, I believe,
Yep.
are losing a good defensive midfielder.
Another one, Brentford are losing Onyeka.
Yeah. So a lot of very good midfielders that are key parts of these Premier League sides are missing, which honestly, if it were my club, that would probably be the last position I would want to lose a key player in. Because the midfielders, that's where you control the game.
And they all seem to be sixes.
Yeah, and that's where you can control the game. So you can maybe lose a striker. You can lose a defender. You can always have backups for that. But for a midfielder, usually if he's like your top player, then that is a big miss for a lot of these clubs.
Yep. Moving over to the other side of the Seagulls versus Palace derby and looking at how Palace are going to be affected by Afcon, they're losing Jordan Ayew, Cheku Kuyate, and Wilfred Zaha. Obviously, Wilfred Zaha is the big name on that list, and he's going to be sorely missed, but I do think it's important to recognize that the other two are key contributors to their team pretty frequently, especially Jordan Ayew, and that side is going to struggle, I think, going forward. I mean, Cheku Kuyate, again, another midfielder that's going to be missed.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Gallagher is back now or not. If he isn't, then they're missing probably their two best players in Gallagher and Zaha. So it's going to be hard. I think Eze might be back as well, or getting back to full fitness. So Palace, who have been, they're not anywhere overperforming this season, but it is still going to be a miss, and maybe put them in a tough spot with relegation if they do continue to drop points with them out. So,
obviously the Brighton game I feel is a toss-up because they're missing Zaha as well.
It is a bit even there.
But after that they play Liverpool. Although Liverpool are missing Sadio Mane and Mo Salah, it's still a very tough game. Still a very strong side without those two. You still have Diego Jota, Roberto Firmino, Minamino. You got a lot of players that can slide into roles up front and do well. So that's going to be a tough one, but they play Norwich after that. So I don't think Crystal Palace is going to be hit quite as hard necessarily in this window. Because, again, you take the players that Palace are missing and even Liverpool are missing, and you put them back into their sides and say Afcon didn't happen. Palace is still not going to do well
I don't
Liverpool
I don't think it's going to make a difference.
Shot, you know what I mean? So there's not really a change of, because Afcon's happening, this game is going to go drastically differently than it was going to happen before.
Yeah.
And then moving past that, one of the teams who I think was hit most definitely hardest by Afcon, we talked about Wilfred Ndidi, Wilfred Ndidi, being out for the Nigerian national team. And they do have three other players that are going to be out, and that's Leicester City. They have Daniel Amartey, Kelechi Iheanacho, Nampalys Mendy. You know who I'm talking about? He's another
the midfielder. Yeah,
he's a substitute, but he's a fairly good player. And then Wilfred Ndidi, who are all going to be gone with their respective national teams for Afcon, and I think that's a very tough one for them, losing Iheanacho and Wilfred Ndidi.
Yeah, so that's missing a starting center back and 6, and then Iheanacho's been in and out of the side, I believe, since when I've watched them. I mean, yeah, it is a tough one. I don't know. Well, obviously they have Dewsbury Hall,
they have Dewsbury Hall,
who's gonna really just
people should
off.
most definitely understand how good Dewsbury is.
And
do you think people know who Dewsbury is?
They should. He had a very good performance in their win against Liverpool at home.
Did he play?
He had an assist.
Dude played.
He had the winning assist. He's been starting a lot.
Really?
He's kind of like...
Who would you compare him to?
He's Madison. He's like a second Madison.
He's James?
Yeah.
So James...
And they look very similar. Madison's been bagging goals recently. Really? Yeah. I mean, in FA Cup and random ones. Yeah, so
look at his season as a whole. Let's be honest here. Yeah. Are you saying Matters is succeeding this season?
He's not. I don't think he'll get into the World Cup squad.
And that's not a success considering
his level.
2020.
Yeah. So yeah.
But obviously Leicester.
That's true. Is Patson Daka leaving as well? You can check.
Yeah, I'll look that up. Let's see here.
I mean, leaving Vardy alone as a striker is at his age might be a bit risky.
Unlikely call up for Patson Daka. He is not leaving.
So didn't get called up.
He did not get called
He
up
wasn't not allowed to
for the
leave.
Zambian national team.
Okay.
That's strange. Why was it? He was on standby.
Hmm.
This is a strange one. Oh, I think it was because of short notice. Yeah. Yeah, so basically they didn't so it's kind of similar to the Watford situation,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of reversed. The Zambian national team didn't notify Afcon about their roster with Patsandaka in time, and they were apparently their ties were kind of already close to being cut, and they
Yeah.
were close to being cut out of the tournament, so they just didn't bring him.
Mm-hmm.
But Paul, that is a good point that normally Patsendak would be gone, but I mean, still not a full firing strike force, missing a key CDM and center back, like you said, is going to be very difficult for them. And then moving down the list, we have Liverpool, who are obviously missing two.
Probably the biggest headlining players.
Yeah, I mean they're missing two of their most marquee players, in Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah. But it's also worth noting that they're going to be missing Naby Keita,
who's been in the rotation this season. But I mean, has there been a stretch of games where Salah has been gone? I feel like this season.
No,
maybe I'm imagining that
he's just so good this season.
Because
it's gonna be strange to see what happens.
It will be, because I mean their starting forwards are gonna be what, Origi, Jota, and Minamino maybe.
Yeah, that's it. Well, Origi, Jota,
Firmino,
Minamino.
So that's their four really, and that's besides Jota. I don't know if they're Premier League starting level.
Well, Premier League starting, I'd say Origi. I'd say all three could actually start in a Brighton, Southampton, Watford.
In a side, yes, but for Liverpool, who are trying to catch Man City, I don't think
that's not helpful at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, are they? Let me check their fixtures, because if they're not gonna really lose points on their games, it's almost pointless for them. You have to think that if they don't have games that matter that much, that Klopp's not gonna be super worried. And again, Brentford, Crystal Palace, and Leicester. Leicester's missing an insane amount of talent, and Brentford and Crystal Palace without Zaha, Brentford without Onyeka, are both completely winnable games. So I see 9 points easily being snatched.
Yeah, but still, Salah, who's having best season of his career probably so far, just missing these games because of the tournament. It's maybe gonna hurt his golden boot race a little bit.
I do think it would hurt his goal. Well, I think he's still probably gonna win.
Oh yeah, he's still far ahead.
I think it would hurt his chances of breaking records that he hasn't already broken.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Getting to heights further than he has in the past, or further than anyone else. And I also think it's worth noting that, you're playing, if you're on a good team in the Afcon tournament, respective to your competition, you could be playing anywhere from 4 to 7 games in the next 3.5 weeks. So that could also take a pretty big toll on
risk for injury as well.
Yeah, risk for injury. Players just getting overall tired and having to come back into the Premier League immediately, and I mean, players like Mo Salah will be needed instantly, so not really much time to recover for them. And if they do give them time to recover, they're just missing key players for longer. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how just the overall toll of the Afcon tournament takes place on some of these teams with a lot of players that are going to be out. And then we have 2 more teams to touch on. First, Chelsea, who are missing 2 players, or were going to miss 2 players, and now are missing 1, I believe. And so they're missing Edouard Mendy, which is really big, because he was already in the talks for the best goalkeeper in the world after 1 season with Chelsea.
Yeah.
And has been absolutely fantastic with them. But then also Hakim Ziyech is normally a member of the Morocco side, but I think it was something that we should touch on, that he was left out of the Afcon squad because of a rift with the national team head coach.
I mean, yeah, we don't know the details, but also that is very odd, because when you look at that Morocco team, I mean, he's probably their best player.
100%. I mean, you still
after
have
Sofiane Boufal,
Benatia,
yeah,
Sofiane Boufal, I can't. I'll look up.
I mean, a player of his quality, I think is a huge miss for them. No matter the, it seems like a small rift, which
Yeah,
maybe it's a big one, but from what we've heard, we don't know.
they
Um,
have
to leave him out is kind of
they have the
huge.
IU brothers. Um.
No,
Oh wait, no,
that's
yeah,
for
yeah.
Ghana, I
I
think.
was like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah,
Roman Sais is
decent. Hakimi, right?
Hakimi.
Yep. So they have
Kufal.
good defense.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, attack wise, I'm not seeing anyone the level of Hakim Ziyech.
Yeah. So I think that would be a big miss. It is a weird one, especially because we don't know a lot about it, and it hasn't been in the news really at
No,
all.
no.
We just had to
Do you think that
research it.
Afcon overall has been less covered than like literally every other tournament?
Yeah. I mean, we started the pod off by saying we can't stream
Yeah,
it. Like, there's no
exactly.
streaming service for
Which is
it.
kind of crazy.
Pretty much all the news has been negative.
Yeah,
Like, oh, they're missing these players,
yeah.
which we're saying that too, but like, there's not a lot of
We're
positives.
contributing to
Yeah.
the problem.
There's not a lot of positives about it.
Yeah,
In the media, but it is like we watched like 5 minutes of highlights, and it seemed like a very intense and fun
yeah.
environment. So I don't know. I think
It's a tough one.
yeah,
It is a tough one, but I'm gonna be interested to see how that Morocco side overall performs throughout the tournament. And then lastly, we have Watford, who are missing 4 players maybe. Let me check the exact stat. They are missing 4 players, and a 5th one will not be able to participate with his team. So the 4 that they're missing is Trusta Kong, who is a center back for Watford. They're missing Adam Messina, Maduka Oyeke, and Imran Luza. And so I don't really know of 3 out of the 4 of those
yeah.
players.
I don't know how much they're involved in the squad,
But I do know Trusta Kong will be definitely a big
yeah,
hit for them. But a strange story that I think we should talk about in some detail is that Emmanuel Dennis was called up to the Nigerian national team, but was not allowed to participate because the Nigerian national team staff failed to inform Watford of their decision to take him before the deadline that Watford had. And I think obviously we don't really know what goes on in the back room of a club or what the player is saying. Maybe Dennis is like, I don't want to go, but I mean, personally, I would think that I would definitely want to represent my country in a tournament like AFCON if I was from an African country.
it's like the Euros.
It is. And so having your club say, no, we're not going to let you go because some stupid deadline wasn't met, and they did it like a day late. I think it said 2 days late. Seems kind of ridiculous, and it also would make me feel as a player that my club is trying to find anything to keep me from going so that they can have more success in the Premier League, and that I don't think should happen. I think it should be more about the success of the players and them having to be able to express how they feel about representing their country and all those things that kids dream of doing.
Yeah.
And so when your club's like, no, we're not gonna let you do that because we think that it's better for our success if we keep you, it seems kind of selfish.
Yeah, I have like 2 things. One, Dennis he's in my team of the season so far
Unstoppable.
for all of the Premier League. If you're Watford, you have to expect that he was going to leave. He was going to be chosen for the squad. And just because like the official documents or whatever didn't come in, you still had to expect that. And for a player of his quality, he could help that team so much with the form he's in. But also, like you said, he like maybe some players just don't want to go, whatever. I've actually, for Southampton, Salisu said that he opted out of going, and he's had an incredible season. He's really important to our team, and he decided not to go just to help Southampton and their performances, which is interesting because I haven't heard another player do that.
It could be that that's what Dennis wanted and it was a way for that to happen.
Yeah.
But the way that the media is covering it makes it seem like it's not the case, because I think that if that was the case, they wouldn't say that Watford wasn't letting him go. They would say that he's staying back You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The wording is just a bit off.
From what I heard, he wanted to go, but they weren't letting him, or that's the story that the media
Yeah.
was portraying. So
So I definitely think that they should, or at least teams should be more respectful of players' wishes to represent their country. And if something stupid like a little deadline doesn't get hit, you I mean, can't be that harsh in my
Yeah.
opinion. But moving on, we did say before the podcast that we wanted to touch on a team that we felt like was really the team we were focusing on through the whole tournament individually, and that we thought had the most potential to win it. So I'll let you start with the team that you feel like is your favorite or you're gonna be watching the most, and why.
So I choose Egypt, which may seem like a bit of a
It does.
obvious
It
choice
does.
with having probably the best player in the world on form right now in Mo Salah. But I have a bit of a story for.
We all love a story here.
We love a story.
Well, no, let's get a storytelling
Yeah.
narrative going. Like where are scene set? Where are
So
you?
we're
going on?
Christmas morning,
There's a tree.
a day of great joy.
A great for people who celebrate.
Yes, exactly.
As Gundogan said in his Instagram post. Did you see that?
Well, I mean, Mo Salah has been criticized for celebrating
And
Christmas.
Gundogan.
Yeah,
They have posted
yeah,
celebrating Christmas, and they said Merry Christmas to all of those who celebrate.
Yeah.
And I looked through the comments, and people are just roasting him.
Yeah.
Like absolutely killing him. I'm like, guys, it's not that deep.
no, it's not. But anyway, that's besides the point.
I mean, actually, I shouldn't probably say it.
Yeah.
It might be that deep to some people.
Yeah.
But I think you should respect others' opinions and viewpoints on how they express their religion.
Yeah. But I got a mystery kit from the father for a present, which if you don't know,
shameless plug, we might be partnering. No.
yeah.
Secret box shirts giveaway.
It's basically you order your size of jersey online and you get shipped a jersey that you don't know what it is. It's just a size that will fit you, and that's kind of this whole surprise about it. You don't know.
It's a great idea.
I always wanted to do it, but
We
I never
should.
thought of it, and I finally got one.
So we have a Lampard jersey. We have a some Brazilian team
Yeah.
jersey. We have a Real Madrid, a Sadio Mane, a signed
Southampton, Sadio Mane.
Southampton Sadio Mane, a signed Lionel Messi and Diego Maradona, both signatures on an Argentinian jersey. A Pulisic jersey.
From Dortmund's team star in
Yep.
Dortmund.
And then a signed Pirlo jersey, and then a Pablo Campos jersey and an Andy Lorai jersey. Two greats of the American game.
Great legends
But we should do a mystery giveaway
on stream.
of
That would be
one
very cool.
of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9. One of the 9 shirts we will give away, and it's even odds. So you could get the Maradona Messi one, or you could get the
We'll have to discuss that.
Frank Lampard.
We'll have to discuss.
We're actually just
Or
giving
we
away
just
all
do-
of the stuff behind us.
Or we just do a unboxing of a mystery kit on stream, and then we give it away.
So
That'd be really cool.
guys in the chat right now, I see that the chat's been just having their own conversation.
You're talking about ESR and Rashford.
I'm so confused
Yeah.
right now because I look at the chat and there's about 4 minutes of people just talking about whether
This is looking like our-
and Rashford and Greenwood should be like playing and who's better, and it's not even close to what we're talking about.
It looks like the DraftKings chat,
Oh, it
which
does.
guys
Yeah.
just bring it into the DraftKings and
Yeah. We have this FPL DraftKings group chat for all the people that joined the Class on Grass Media FPL League at the
for the
beginning of
draft.
year.
Yeah.
For the draft for the Fantasy Premier League one. And I swear every day I look in it and there's like 600 chats.
Yeah. I don't know how you guys find the time, but
It's ridiculous.
yeah. So back to the story. Mystery kit. I open it and I get a Egyptian national team jersey,
Which color? The red?
the red home kit, Adidas.
Do they put anyone on the back or is it just a blank?
No,
one?
oh, I wish I got a solid
Is
jersey.
there a
That'd be
chance?
so.
No, I wish you got. Let me look up a player.
An El Neni
I'm
jersey.
fine. No, it's just a El Neni Arsenal jersey with an Egyptian badge.
Yeah.
You have like a combination.
Yeah,
kit.
that'd be sick. But anyway, very.
Trezeguet. Dude,
Oh,
a Trezeguet, Egyptian
That'd be
one.
sick.
Dude, that would be unbelievable.
But very clean jersey. I might bring it in to show. It could maybe end up on the walls.
I
We'll
told
see.
you to wear it today.
I know, I forgot.
Did you just forget,
I
or
did.
were you actively trying to?
No,
protest
I
against-
forgot because I remembered right when we said we should do our favorite teams, and I was like, oh, it should be Egypt, and then
Yeah, and you're like, ooh, wait, don't have it on.
whatever. But it will maybe make an appearance in a later date. But that is my team that I will want to win, even though I like your choice a lot, and I've always liked their kits.
My
So,
choice is great. I'm just gonna add. I think next episode I'm gonna wear the Argentinian jersey that's behind us.
yeah.
I'm just gonna wear it.
Okay, I'll wear the
But,
pure
yeah. just like get the souls of the players who signed it like
Yeah.
embodied in us.
Mhm.
You know.
I'll speak with an Italian.
Yeah, I'll speak with an
accent.
Argentinian accent.
Yeah.
You know, and like I'll switch between Diego and
Oh.
Messi, two very different characters
Yeah.
who like very different things.
Very different things.
But I'm just back to my team. And I won't be wearing this team's kit necessarily next episode, but I do think that their 2018 World Cup kits were the best in the entire competition.
I think it's a top 5 of all time.
It's
jersey.
ridiculously good.
Nike has
and
done well there.
They also play against Egypt in their first
Yep.
opening game of the competition, and that's Nigeria. And I have a little list here of all the players that are suited up for Nigeria, whether they are starting or not. And so I'll just read through it and say why. The list itself explains why this team is my number.
I love this team.
So they have Osimhen from Napoli up top. Great player.
Great season.
He's done really well in the Champions League as well. He had a really good game. I can't remember who it was against, but it was earlier in the season. And he had 2 goals.
Or Europa League, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah,
he
it might have been
played
Europa
Leicester, right?
No. He plays Napoli.
I know, but he played
against
Leicester. Yeah, that
yeah.
brace or whatever. Yeah.
But it was Europa League. You're right.
Yeah.
Yep. And it was when Patson had like 3 offside
Yeah,
goals.
yeah,
It
I
was a
remember.
great game.
Mhm.
But yeah, so Osimhen, great player up top. And then they have Odion Igalo up top as well. Manchester United
legend
legend
of the game.
Absolute beast. He currently plays for Al Shabaab over in I don't know a lot about, is it the Saudi league?
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, I don't know a lot about the Saudi league, but he plays in it, and I don't even know if they have stats for it. I'm not sure if
It's pure money.
it's pure. They're just dealing money.
Exactly.
If you get like 3 goals on the season, you just get a certain amount of cash, and
Yeah.
everyone who knows that just knows you got that cash.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that corresponds to the goal. But obviously, like a very veteran player who's played in a lot of good teams throughout his career and can do well in this competition. They have Wilfred Ndidi, as we've touched on, who plays for Leicester. Great central defensive mid, just an absolute body. And then they also have Alex Iwobi for Everton, who has obviously started at the Arsenal Academy, and then made his way up through the Arsenal first team. Didn't necessarily live up to the expectations that everyone had for him, so he transferred, and now he's at Everton. Also not necessarily lived up to the expectations at Everton, but I do like him as a player, and I think he can do well during this competition. Moving down the list, Troost-Ekong, who plays for Watford. The first
Featured in the Cycling
that's
GK video.
That's what I was gonna say. The first time it was Chris MD's
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the Cycling GK.
With Toby as
Yeah,
well.
Toby was in as well. The first time, I think we actually talked about it on the pod, did we?
I think
We
did.
definitely
I
had
think
this
we did.
same
We
conversation
did.
on the pod.
We did, definitely.
Yeah, the first time I ever heard of Troost-Ekong was on the pod, and then I went and watched the video, and then I was like, wait, I've seen this guy in the Prem, and then I started like following him actually when I was watching. He's a quality player, quality defender. And I mean, you could tell when Toby was trying to take him on and just couldn't get past that. Toby is Premier League quality, so it really goes to show.
Yeah.
And then moving down the list, I had to add this one in. People might not know about this player, but Leon Balogun. And so Leon Balogun currently plays at Rangers, but he had a fairly long stint at Brighton throughout our time in the Championship and in the Premier League.
I remember him.
And he got a lot of game time, and he's a very, very quality player. So I'm excited to see how he does in the competition. And then, as we've said earlier, Onyeka, who plays for Brentford, been quality for them all season. And overall, a squad that has really top
Premier
League and top level strikers, midfielders, and defenders. And whether they're wide or central does not matter. They have it in every position. I mean, I'm looking at this. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 11 players that can be in your starting 11 who have really good experience playing in top leagues and are not condensed to one position singularly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all spread out.
You know what I just realized?
What?
I do have a retro Nigeria
Do you actually?
jersey at home. Yes.
So what we should
So
do
I think
next episode,
next pod I'll wear the Egypt.
and I'll wear the Nigeria, and then we go over how the match went.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We do like
You guys remind us because you might forget.
remind us when the pod starts, and then we'll drive.
Well, I'll
back.
drive back
Yeah.
to my house to get the
I'll
jerseys.
entertain you guys for like 30 minutes.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
drives back to his house.
Yeah.
Gets the jerseys and then drives back to the studio.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that matchup happens.
Should be a fun game.
Will Salah just carry?
Hopefully.
Hopefully for you, not for me necessarily. We do have to move on from Afcon. We know it was the title of this episode and what it was supposed to be generally about, but we talked about it for a while. And although no Premier League has happened since we last recorded, which was not that long ago, I think it was 5 days ago because we recorded on Wednesday last week, there was FA Cup ties that happened. So we have a couple of those that we thought were standout matches or had some really interesting points to touch on. And the first one would be the City versus Swindon Town game, which finished 4-1. And someone who was actually a contender for the Hassani of the Week this week.
Yeah, just missed out to Vincent.
He just missed out barely to Vincent Abubakar.
The dual penalties.
Yeah, I mean, the dual penalties is something that you really can't beat.
It's so rare. You need to.
Well, actually, I do think the second pen has got to be tough. And he went opposite directions.
It's got to be the toughest thing
in
football.
Because you're going one way the first time.
The psychology of it is huge because
It's crazy.
So he'll go the same way, but maybe he won't go the same way because he already went that way.
Chat, let us know if you've ever had to take a double penalty in a game and what you were thinking. Because I don't know what I would do. I took a lot of pens.
You almost had to do
a double. Yeah.
Because we almost went into overtime and then pens. Yep. Yeah.
And that would have been a tough one. I've always thought, because I've had times where I've shot in the penalty shootout or times when I've shot in the game. But I've never really had a time where I've had times where it's been close, but never really had a time where I had to do the double, where you have to, I don't know, you have to fake the keeper, and I think I would just go the same side.
I think most people go the same side.
So is that the problem though? Then you got me thinking.
But Abubakar did not.
He
faked out the goalie in both times. He went the opposite way of the goalie both times.
He also did the Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah, he did a bit of a stutter. So.
Well, do we call it the Bruno Fernandes or the Jorginho?
I mean, Neymar does it too. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, well, who initially began?
The one he did is more of just a slowdown and not the jump. So I called the Neymar.
It's the Pennard.
Yes, exactly.
It's the Pennard.
It is.
I did the slowdown.
Yeah.
I did. But back to the City Swindon game with a Hassani of the Week contender, Cole Palmer. He had an assist and a goal, and his first assist was the first goal of the game.
Incredible play.
Which was absolutely fantastic. He was on the right side of the field.
Couple step overs.
Cut it to the touchline, and then crossed it right 6 yards out from the goal. Bernardo Silva just had to touch it in. Absolute magic from Cole Palmer, who is, I mean, I know we talked about it earlier, but a future City star.
Yeah, and his goal at the end of the game was even better. He was on the right side of the box, cut in with his left, I believe, right? Or maybe it was across the goal.
Are you talking about Cole?
Yeah, he hit both posts or something. He had the crossbar and then the post, yeah. Mm-hmm. Incredible goal. But, I mean, hopefully he follows in the footsteps of Foden, and that would be an incredible duo.
Yeah.
In the midfield with Foden and Palmer, two academy graduates.
Yeah. I do think it's also worth noting in that game that Gundogan scored a really, really nice goal around the wall. Took it very nicely. It wasn't necessarily a highlight reel free kick because it wasn't top corner or anything.
It was just technique.
He curled it around the wall really nicely. And it's not something you see, done very often by players. So that was definitely a very good FA Cup tie. And Eli, if we just go back to the pens for 1 second, said first one right corner, second one has to be a Panenka.
Ooh.
And that is actually fantastic.
Or the first one, Panenka, because then you
could
could go.
I would never Panenka initially.
Because then you can go anywhere on the second one.
But what if he just stands there?
Then you're like, my bad.
No, seriously. What if you Panenka it and the keeps just stands there and catches it?
I've seen it happen. It's not nice to see.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Dude, oh gosh, I can't even think about it. That's like, fingernails on a chalkboard to me.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. But in the penalty shootout, never expect it.
No.
Never.
Paul, I did actually remember the Kiddermeister Harriers game.
No, the Kidderminster Harriers game.
Oh my.
Dude, okay,
They've got to be the
I have a story to tell.
Yeah.
That's actually this. So I'm putting the storytelling. We're going back in the storytelling booth. Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Setting is here.
Okay.
So I started watching this YouTuber, about 2 years ago. His name's Brandao. Brandao. He is from Hoffenheim, and he grew up in the Hoffenheim Academy. He's like 6'6" now, just like a really big, tall dude. And he was initially a striker for most of his career. And he left the Hoffenheim Academy at the U19s, and he's been searching for a pro contract kind of ever since. I mean, he's like 28 now, so it's been a long time. And he I think 4 years ago he started like putting his videos on you or making videos and putting them on YouTube about his journey. I don't know if anyone here knows about Become Elite Matt Sheldon or people like that who, they record their journey as a pro soccer player. He was trying to do the kind of same thing, and he grew a somewhat large audience. I think he has like 30K on YouTube now. But I started watching him like 2 years ago, and he joined Kidderminster Harriers in like the 6th division.
Nice.
It was in like the Conference League. And he played there for a while, and then he went to Romania, and he played in the 2nd division in Romania for Panduri Targu Jiu. And then he went to Iceland, and then he went to America, and this is where it gets like strange. So first off, he was moving about playing for pro teams in Europe, and then he moved to America because he thought that he was gonna be able to play like MLS.
Yeah.
And props to my guy for trying, but I think it's definitely harder in America than people think to go pro. So he moved and he went to like LA, and he couldn't make, he tried out for certain MLS teams, and then he ended up trying out for a UPSL team, which is like our 6th division.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've ever seen a bigger decline than playing for Panduri Targu Jiu, who are like a Europa League team 4 or 5 years ago, to the UPSL. I just had to get that out there.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But yes, Kidderminster Harriers played, and Brandao played for them.
I hope they are
I hope
a
Brandao
fairy
goes
tale.
back.
I hope they're a fairy tale team this year, as we love to see with the FA Cup. And maybe another potential one, Cambridge United beat the most expensive team in the world, most wealthy team in the world, Newcastle,
Highest net worth.
away, 1-0.
You know who debuted in that game?
Who?
Kieran Trippier.
Oh. See,
That's
big
tough.
money sign-in.
That's so tough. You gotta think that he is just kicking himself now because
No, I think he fully expected this going into it. There's
you
no way...
You can't expect that he thought he was gonna lose to Cambridge United in his first game as a Newcastle
But there's
player.
there's no way he signs and goes, I'm ready for like a very successful end of the
It's
season.
Cambridge United.
Yeah, but I
They
would
were in League 2 years ago.
now his expectations are
Maybe
low.
even last year.
Now his expectations are low, I think.
Oh, they have to be.
Yeah.
Dude, he started the game and they lost to Cambridge United. In my football app, right, where I get my scores, everyone else is in the Newcastle kit. He's still in the Atletico Madrid kit.
Yeah.
And the other team, no pictures.
Yeah.
0 pictures.
But that's the beauty of the FA Cup, and that's why we love it.
Dude, losing to Cambridge United is not beauty for Newcastle. That is utter stupidity from the owners. I don't know why they. I don't even know what to say.
You should move to the Hull game.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. The next game on the agenda, Hull City versus Everton. This one finished 3-2. It was a very entertaining tie. It was a banger fest. I mean, it was crazy. So many
Incredible
unbelievable
goals.
Starting with the first goal, which came from Tyler Smith. It was a header, very nice off of a free kick for Hull. And then the second goal was Damari Gray, who this one was not a banger, but it was an absolutely unbelievable goal. He had it on the left side of the box, just outside, where the corner is of the 18-yard box. Did a couple body feints like Neymar, and then he passed it off and he got it back, and then it was like a little 1-2, and he got it back and slotted it home. Kind of reminded me of Vinicius Jr.'s goal this past week as well. I don't know if you saw that either, but it was a very well taken goal. And then the third goal was a Andre Gomez header, which was the second one for Everton, to make it 2-1. And then to make it 2-2, Ryan Longman scored maybe the goal of the FA Cup. So, I mean, it was incredible. Did you see the back angle on this?
Yeah.
Game? So he gets the ball, it like bounces out to him.
It's how you dream of hitting a curling top corner shot.
I mean, just to give you guys context if you didn't see it, he hit it with his left foot, curled it from maybe 22 yards out into the actual perfect top bins you could ever get. And it wasn't super powerful. And the only thing I can relate it to is Gio Reyna's first goal for Dortmund.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Just, I mean, perfection at its finest. It was incredible. But then Townsend scored from like 40 yards out, as he always does.
Yeah.
Finished the game 3-2.
Yeah, exactly.
It was special, but it wasn't anything in the corner. It was just one of his knuckleballs that he shoots from like a little halfway line, and it just knuckles until it goes into the net. It's craziness. Townsend, I swear this guy only scores bangers.
He does.
It's crazy.
He scored one this season. I forgot against who, but at home, I remember he scored another just crazy goal from 40 yards.
Yeah.
That's, just what he does.
It's him as a player.
There's no one better at doing that.
Steven Gerrard is overlooked.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't play anymore.
He's not overlooked. I don't know what I'm going for. I don't even know what I'm going for with that one. Townsend is overlooked when talking about Steven Gerrard.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
They're very similar players.
Very similar in play style.
Yeah.
And career longevity, and how well they've done.
Yeah.
With their respective clubs. And how loyal they've been to their teams.
Right.
But he did score a very good goal.
It was.
To him. He's done a lot of those.
Unfortunately, the underdog did lose that game, but it was an entertaining game.
Yeah. I'm sure Ben Hansen, if he's ever listening, would have been mad. If you guys don't know, Ben is one of our friends, and he loves Hull City. He loves Hull City.
He loves them. One underdog that did win at the expense of Paul in the chat is Nottingham Forest beat Arsenal at home 1-0. Lewis Graben with I think it was like 80-something minute winning goal. Arsenal in their all-white kits.
All-white kicks. A
lot of them were wearing white
We
kicks.
should talk about the kits for a little bit.
Yeah, but, well, did you see what Roy Keane said?
About the kits?
Yeah.
Probably not anything good.
No, he said after the game, he was like, Arsenal looked like they were Real Madrid, but played like a pub team. So, which Nottingham Forest are a decent side in the championship. So,
well, it's a pub game.
Yeah,
Nottingham Forest.
There it is.
Arsenal pub game right there. But the white kits were used to advertise against or put awareness up against knife violence with
the youth
in London / England.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like gang and knife violence.
It was like no more red, so like they took the red out of their jerseys.
Exactly.
We should have like a kit like podcast. We've talked about kits a lot.
You mean like a Class on Grass podcast jersey?
Yeah.
We could do it. So I talked to someone who runs a company like that makes football kits.
Mm-hmm.
Like they design them and stuff for certain semi-pro and pro, like low division pro teams around here and throughout the country. And I talked to someone who works at that company and they were like, yeah, we can do it. And they gave me the prices, so I can talk to you about that afterwards. But to be honest, the chat should just let us know if they would want kits.
We should just like...
Should we get kits and like put them up, or are you saying like we wear
I just meant
we sell them?
We've talked about them a lot, like kits a lot. We should have like a full kit episode. We just like...
You mean where we make our own kits, or where we talk about kits?
We just like rank kits.
Oh, so that's not where I was going.
But we could make kits.
We could make kits.
We could wear the kits.
And do a kit episode.
But honestly, we should just design them as the 2018 Nigeria kit.
Dude, just put the Class and Grass badge over the Nigeria kit.
Oh, that would be so
This
sick.
is our official kit that we've designed. We think it is very exquisite, and there's definitely no plagiarism or copyright involved in it.
On a rainy day, as they say, maybe not much has happened that week. We can fit in a like top 5 kits of all time.
Oh yeah.
List, but
yeah, right. If every game was like a rainy night in Stoke, that week, then top 5 kits of all time. Why they were the top 5, and then we like buy them and give them all away. No.
Yeah.
We buy all these retro kits.
Yeah.
No, we wish. But we did talk about the FA Cup for quite a bit. We talked about Afcon for quite a bit.
We did.
And there's one more very small thing that we want to touch on. And it is very unfortunate, and I think it's going to hurt Juventus, or the side.
Possibly Italy.
Yeah, possibly Italy. very hard over the next 9 months, and it is Federico Chiesa getting an ACL injury this past week. So, I mean, hopefully he is able to have a procedure that helps him get better as soon as possible, and he's able to get back to his best at some point. But I wanted to throw it out there because he did tear his ACL this past week, and he is such a large part of the footballing community right now, and he's one of the biggest
Great player.
players.
Yeah.
Super clutch in the Champions League.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But other than that, I mean, I think that rounds everything off. Do you have anything else you wanted to add?
I do not.
Perfect.
I don't think so. I mean, we're finishing right about an hour.
Did we start it right at 8:30?
We started at 9, like 8:35 or so, I believe. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's perfect.
Mhm.
That's really good. Well, chat, thank you for stopping by and giving your feedback. It was very nice to see a completely different conversation happening the entire episode. So that really helped us a lot.
We were probably on
questions.
mute for them,
Dude,
and they were just chatting.
So do you think ever there are like YouTube videos where people just go in there and use it as like a chat room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's us. Let's see.
Next episode, we just look and there's like 500 people in the stream not talking about soccer at all. Just talking about something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, guys, that rounds up the COG Weekly podcast.
COG Weekly.
For
Expect
this week.
me to say it wrong for probably the next month.
Yeah. Well, I almost said it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that rounds up the COG Weekly podcast for this week. That's kind of weird. The double weeks is.
COG Weekly for this week.
You think it works?
For
the last 7 days.
For the 7-day period.
All right, guys, that rounds up the COG Weekly podcast for this 7-day period, and we'll be back during the next 7-day period.
There we go.
Peace.